Alright, Bill O'Reilly, let's go ahead and start this war on Christmas. I am ready.
Hello, Internet. I'm Jackie Fox, and welcome to Politically Non-Binary. If you know me personally, or maybe from watching my secondary YouTube channel, my gaming channel, then you would already know that Magic the Gathering is one of my favorite games. And here we are coming up on Christmas, so I get to feel real fucking bad about my hobby. Once again, as Hasbro announces that it's going to be laying off over 1,000 people right before the holidays, it reminds me about all the things that I hate about the holidays to begin with. I've been wanting to make a War on Christmas video for quite some time, and maybe we'll get there towards the end of this video. But for right now, I want to talk about a somewhat different phenomenon. Something that maybe hits a little bit closer to home and is not super particular to this year, but definitely a trend that we can all watch happening in real time. We all know that capitalism sucks. Like, that's why this is the intro to this channel. That's why it is what it is. We all get it. We're beyond that. Why does it suck? How does it suck? Those are the things that we need to know. Well, let's get started with the absurd Christmas capitalism with talking about the quarters of the year. There are 4 business quarters of the year, the 4th of those being probably the most important. This is the make or break quarter, especially if you haven't been doing particularly well up to this point in the year. The 4th quarter is the one that saves it for you. Similarly, we also have, towards the end of 3rd quarter, Black Friday, which I think is a lot easier to recognize as just an engineered shopping holiday. I mean, even the full backstory is that these companies are trying to get out of the red and back into the black. So it's pretty much just an excuse for American companies to make huge profits off the back of all of our cultural sentiments pushing us to buy things that we don't need. Similarly, at the end of Q4, you have Christmas. You have all of that Christmas shopping, right? And to make companies get that last push to get all their profits, one of the ways that companies do this isn't always just by raising prices, because they're in competition with other brands and companies and other consumers. If anything, they're trying to push their prices down just a little bit to entice you to buy things you normally wouldn't. That's the whole theory of the season. It isn't by improving the quality of their product or their process or making sure that things work more efficiently, anything that would actually require hard work and good leadership. These aren't the things that they do each year around Christmas. Instead, an increasing number of companies, Hasbro this year very much included upon the naughty list, they lay off tons and tons of their workers in late November and early December every year. And it seems pretty easy to surmise the reasons why. Or the reason why. Because there's only one. Now, the same CEO that is probably making a multi-million-dollar year-end bonus is firing all of those workers simply so that he will not have to pay. And let's face it, while there are some famous women leading companies, it is usually men at this point. Not that, like, girl boss capitalism really solves any of these issues. I'm just putting that out there. Now, he doesn't have to pay workers a large bonus. It's like saving whole months of paychecks. It's disgusting, but when you think about the way that people are paid throughout the year, that does tend to be one of the biggest bonuses that people tend to get. So, in a way, if you're thinking about the wages that you pay to your workers as a loss, instead of an investment in the future of your company, then it's really easy to see this Christmas bonus as something to be done away with. But since they don't want to discourage their other workers, I mean, after all, we have become culturally accustomed to Christmas bonuses. They do it by firing the workers that they don't want to pay that little bit extra during the holidays. And if you're thinking that this is just a Magic the Gathering problem, maybe because you're a bit invested in some of the Magic the Gathering drama that has been roiling up for the last couple of years on YouTube, as Hasbro joins the ranks of companies making incredibly questionable decisions about their products and utterly damaging their relationship with the people who consume their products by creating products that no one wanted for prices that no one asked for to squeeze money out of people who can't afford to give it to them. So you might think that this is just par for the course for them, but if you have a favorite company somehow in the year of our Lord and Apocalypse 2023, I don't know, Google their name and layoffs and see what happens. In fact, just Google the word layoffs if you want to just add to your seasonal depression by quite a bit, because it's not just Hasbro. This isn't an isolated issue or incident. This is a widespread, systemic, and annual issue at this point. And I'm not sure, if Hasbro is just a company that's gobbled up Magic the Gathering. All I really remember is it being produced by Wizards of the Coast, and my teenage brain didn't look into things any further than that. Didn't think about parent companies and shells and the fact that everything in the world is basically owned by the same 4 or 5 companies. Or at least that's the way it works within most major industries. So I didn't really pay attention to when that might have shifted. But they really feel like the kind of buy and gut corporate raiders that we have become so disgusted by over the last 10 years. One of the really upsetting points is the way that this naturally snowballs into what I hate about the Christmas season and makes it just that much worse for people. There are a lot of people who have been spending money that they don't have all year. In part because over 52% of America is already living paycheck to paycheck. But then when you factor in the amount of money that people spend on Christmas presents, well, often people are buying those Christmas presents with their Christmas bonus before they've gotten their bonus. And if it comes down to them not getting it at the end of the year, then that unexpected change can be devastating. But even if you aren't just trying to recoup your losses on Christmas presents with your Christmas bonus, a lot of people count on that like they do tax returns to actually do something meaningful in their life, because often it's the only time that they actually have disposable income, because again, 52% of America is living paycheck to paycheck, last I checked. People are going into debt up to their eyeballs for no other reason than making people around them feel just a little bit better during the holiday season. Well, actually, there's a lot of reasons. The whole Christmas guilt response, as I think of it as an adult, is a complex and multifactorial ball of yarn. One of the issues is the social pressure which we place on each other and on ourselves. I just went through an experience yesterday where I had a fully serious 6-year-old child stand in front of me and describe the way that 3 of their friends had arcade cabinets that were like 6-year-old height, and how cool they were and how that's what they wanted for Christmas. A fucking arcade cabinet? Are you kidding me? I mean, honestly, this probably isn't too far off for the kind of escalation that parents have experienced in terms of what they're being expected to buy for their kids every Christmas. The siblings that I have, or anyone that I know with children, it is absolutely absurd to hear the laundry list. Wait, laundry lists aren't a thing. The grocery list length receipt of products that they have purchased for their child, the amount of hundreds, if not thousands, or thousands of dollars. People who barely make 20 or 30,000 a year. And we could say that this is just financially irresponsible. We could shame them for their financial decisions. And I mean, I guess there is some truth to that. Like, if you don't have the money, don't do it. But at the same time, we as a culture, we as a collective operating on social media specifically. I mean, I haven't done social media for over a year. I feel like it just exacerbates a lot of mental health issues, and it also causes me to just doom scroll, like, way too much. In getting off of social media, I reclaimed a lot of time from doom scrolling specifically. If it were just the people and the interactions, if that's what social media was, it would be different. But it isn't. You have to watch all those people adjacent to you that you barely know or see. You have to watch them buy a literal fucking mountain of presents for their child. You have to watch your child see that your tangential friend bought a mountain of presents for their child and say, "Mommy, Daddy, why can't we have a Christmas like them? Are we poor?" And then you feel the guilt. And then you want to kill yourself, and then you go out and you shop instead of committing suicide. Maybe that's a little bit dramatic, but there are a lot of people who have serious mental health issues and disturbances over the holiday season. It's a really hard time to lose a member of family, and a lot of people, if you're old enough, you have probably lost a member of your family around this time of year. That can often be very hard. Just the seasonal depression, the physiological and even somewhat cosmological fact that our bodies were made to work with the sun. We were made to, in some ways, get things from the sun. We were made to get the elements that our body uses to create vitamin D, for instance. But the sun also has other physiological effects on our body, and for multiple reasons related to the angle that the sun is penetrating our atmosphere and how much sun can penetrate, in addition to factors involving like where in the world you live, how close or how far from the equator. During this part of the year, you may not be getting a lot of sunlight, and that can often lead to seasonal depression. All of these things crash in on us at once at Christmas. It's already a time when a lot of us don't have the will left to fight. Even if we hate the holiday and wish it was something different, even if we wish we could change things, we are so beaten down by December 25th that we just give in and we try to make it work. I remember growing up and constantly hearing the adults around me, when they thought children were out of earshot, talking about how they had ruined their finances this month, how they had blown their savings on Christmas presents, how much money they had spent, how jealous they were of each other. You could see the shame in the other person's eyes if they couldn't keep up. You know, we socially shame each other to enforce consumer habits that are detrimental to us all, that encourage us to buy things for each other that we don't want. And it's not that I'm against presents or giving or any of those things. However, and we'll talk about some better ways to do that feel better to me. They feel better to my soul, specifically. But it's about the obligation, and it's about the fact that obligation and this entire apparatus that exists to shame you into that obligation culturally, that all exists to prop up the bottom lines of our companies. This is all just capitalism manipulating you into guilt. And that capitalism acts through your children, it acts through your friends on social media, it acts through all of us. It acts through the disposable Christmas decorations. I mean, it's a travesty the way that Christmas lights were designed. I think they've kind of stopped this now, but like, first of all, how do you take, like, have you ever tried to untangle a string of old Christmas lights? It makes you want to throw them out actively. Also, they're very easy to break while doing this, and if you break one bulb, the whole string of lights is broken. Tinsel? What the fuck is tinsel? The amount that people spend on electricity to light their homes during the season, in a time when that electricity is being generated by coal and other fired power plants that are destroying our planet and making it so that future generations in certain parts of the world that would have ordinarily experienced this will never know a white Christmas. The whitest Christmas they will know is the clouds of carbon dioxide escaping the coal-fired power plants that are lighting up the houses up and down your street. This is another holiday that pushes shit, that pushes just cheap bullshit. Just have it to have it, so that you don't feel left out, so that you can keep up with the Joneses. This amplifies all of those worst parts of capitalism and our nature into a fever pitch of guilt and madness. And I'm sick of it. This is not healthy. It has almost never felt healthy in my life. And I know that's because I have some specific trauma. Because I think I was 6 or 7 years old when I realized that the reason that we didn't have heat in the winter was directly related to Christmas presents. We were so broke growing up that oftentimes we wouldn't be able to pay all of the bills. Actually, we never would be able to pay all of the bills. We had more bills than we could pay. So realizing that things would only get cut off after going unpaid for a couple of months, we would kind of cycle things so that everything was a month or two behind. The best you can do that, though, if you still don't have enough money to pay it all off at any point, is every once in a while things are going to go out for a month. And it was common during the winter that we didn't have heat. It wasn't entirely because of presents, but it just kind of fucked me up to know that I had gotten hundreds of dollars worth of stuff. Especially like the first Christmas, I realized this was really traumatic. Because I had so many presents, I was so happy, it was so many things that I had wanted. There was a part of me that was like, why didn't I get all these other things that I wanted? And then there was a part of me that realized that there was enough stuff here that we probably could have paid to heat the house for this 1 month. I remember sleeping with 3 or 4 blankets during the winter. At least one of them under me, because even my mattress couldn't keep the cold out. I basically had to cocoon myself. How many other people have experienced this because of Christmas presents? Now, there's probably a lot of people out there who really love the holiday, and they have their reasons why. And I don't think that this is unsalvageable. I do think we kind of need to start over from the beginning. So, Bill O'Reilly, start that war on Christmas you're always talking about already. I am ready for it. Ready to pick up a gun and serve my people, my country, in the first war that I've ever truly cared about, the war on Christmas. And in that war, I actually find myself with unusual compatriots. Actually, probably some of Bill O'Reilly's biggest fans, ironically. The people who want to put the Christ back in Christmas. Now, I'm not a Christian. I don't care about your religion. And I don't care about your religious holiday. However, at least basing it in some sort of, I have my disagreements with maybe some of the messages of the Bible in general. The way that it is really cool with like rape and genocide specifically. I think that thinking about the generosity of the Jesus story, people taking in a pregnant woman who had nowhere else to go, allowing her to sleep in their barn even though they had nowhere else to put her. People who had enormous wealth coming to lavish great gifts upon that child. These aren't bad things. The wealthy should pay their part to benefit society. They should be giving back more. Tax the rich, I guess, is what I'm saying here. That's the point of Christmas to me. Tax the rich. Give me their frankincense and their myrrh. But instead, we've all been taxing each other and, most importantly, taxing our own mental health. So what is a better Christmas? How could this be improved? Because I think that there's a lot of people within my generation and the generations following that see some of these old things in a new light, because the world that we have grown up into has been so staggeringly hellish that we have to reimagine things to even be able to be willing to survive. No one wants to live in hell. It's been my generation, in part, that's reimagined Thanksgiving traditions into Friendsgiving. And we can do the same thing with Christmas. Instead of giving presents to all of your friends on one day a year, if you see something, because people will go Christmas shopping all year, right? If you see something in July that you think a friend would really like or really be excited about, just go ahead and give it to them. Don't segregate that generosity to one day a year. You know, that's a weird trick that Christmas does to us. It means that we're only, like we save that niceness up for one day a year instead of reminding people that we care about them with little gifts throughout. Again, I'm not against giving gifts or buying people gifts if we feel that they're meaningful. I'm against the feeling of obligation and guilt that comes with the holidays and that is related to that. I am also not against giving back. One of my favorite Christmas traditions that I haven't done in a while, and maybe my soul is feeling sad because of this. Maybe I should find some way to do this. I started this when I was a teenager, but I would home cook a really nice meal, or at least a couple of sides. I would get them in warm containers, and I would go around. I would go to a city or something, wherever I thought I could find people on the street, and I would sit down with them and feed them and eat with them. The eating with them part was like important to me, not even because it's like Jesus-like. For the record, I'm kind of a fan of Jesus, even though I'm not a Christian or a fan of Christianity. And I feel like Jesus has been liberalized and whitewashed in a big way by everyone since he was born. He was a lot more of a revolutionary. I believe in the revolutionary Jesus and even the metaphorical Jesus. But I think that the idea of sitting down with the less fortunate and ensuring that they have a meal, but also offering to them the humanity of eating with them. And look, there are people on the streets for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes, I remember one year there was a guy who, I don't know, I think he had like Parkinson's or something, but made it really hard for him to chew and swallow and stuff. And sorry. And he felt a lot of shame about eating in front of people. But I think it's important, especially for people like that, to be there for them, to actually like literally be there. I asked him and his friends if there was a way, and he just had me turn away from him as I ate. He didn't want me to watch him or anything, but we talked. There were 3 or 4 of them. I hadn't expected to find anybody like near me. I was thinking I would have to go to a big town, but I was getting close to the highway and I saw them in a parking lot of an older Food Lion. And I've done this, I did this for years, for a while. And I know that made me teary-eyed to remember, but in a happy way. There's something that feels good for your soul about it. And maybe this is a lot for you. Also, maybe you're feeling a bit vulnerable for whatever reason, and you don't want to... I mean, that is putting yourself out there. There are a lot of people who don't feel that comfortable or safe in the world to be willing to commune with homeless strangers in that way. So what you could do is find a place where you can volunteer. Find a soup kitchen. They are always needing people during the holidays. There will be ways to volunteer, even if it's last minute, even if you're afraid that you're not going to be able to easily. I think you'll surprise yourself if you take a look around. Also, and I say this, and I came to this tradition... Oh man, this is such a video. My grandmother passed away. It's been 4 or 5 years now. I don't remember when she started making this. I think she may have even started because of me. I think it was... If I'm remembering this correctly, I could be wrong. I was in middle school. I was in like a home ec class, and there was this like little breakfast casserole thing with like, the tubed biscuits that you like twist and unwrap. And you put those on the bottom, and then you chop a bunch of veggies and like bacon and sausage and eggs, kind of for a custardy thing, and you bake it. And I brought that recipe home to my grandmother that year, and we made it together, and she had her tweaks. She did all sorts of cool things with this. She would use old stale bread, and then she would hydrate it with like milk or something, or with the egg mixture, instead of the biscuit layer that I had been taught. Honestly, I think this is a lot better, and also really good way to reuse older food that you might not have used otherwise. And it was actually really popular. This was our Christmas breakfast food. She would have everybody who lived around over for Christmas breakfast. And especially as I was in my teens and 20s, once I got out of my mother's house, things were kind of tough for me for a while. And she would always make extra. She got to the point where she was making like 3 or 4 sheets of it. Casserole dishes. And it got to the point where she was sending me out with like my own casserole dish, basically. Because she wanted to make sure that I was eating during the holiday season. That's they say the way to someone's heart is through their stomach, but that's always, I don't know, like maybe that's kind of part of my love language is food, but I always felt very loved that she wanted to make sure that I had something to eat. And that's my favorite part of the holidays. It's not the presents, and there's a lot of holidays that share this in common that I love for it. It's getting everybody together for a meal. It's calling in all those extended family members and the people who aren't doing so great. Making sure that they get fed. And making sure that they have plenty of food to take with them as well. But that's where my tradition sprang from. Where it grew from. Because there are people who don't have that privilege of family. Or people who don't have the privilege of a table to sit around. A kitchen to cook in. Appliances to get everything warm. An oven to bake a casserole dish in. or grandmother to bake it. And people were going through that. We're going through all of the normal things that make the holiday season hard. Maybe one of these people got laid off recently as well. You never know. But I think the moral of this whole story is to find ways to spread and share joy during this holiday season. Look out for people. Look out for the people that you don't see. Both the friends that maybe have been a little bit more distant this year. Maybe they're going through something that they're having a hard time talking about, and you should reach out to them. Invite them to dinner. Maybe there are people outside of your friend group, outside of your family, that you could help. If you live in a major American city, it should probably be pretty easy to go downtown and find somebody who needs a warm meal. We have plenty of excellent thermos technology, so you can keep that shit warm for them. Don't be feeding them cold food. I mean, they'll appreciate it. If you're just going out there with peanut butter and jellies, I'm sure they'll be happy, but it's a nice time to have a nice meal, and a nice warm meal. And that's exactly what these CEOs have taken from so many people this year. If we're looking for the Grinch who stole Christmas from hundreds of thousands of Americans, we need look no further than our own CEO class. And to all of those wealthy bastards out there who just cut thousands of workers to fatten up their own Christmas bonus. Bah fucking humbug. Go fall in a hole. To the rest of you, thanks for tuning in. I've been Jackie Fox. This is Politically Non-Binary. Please like and subscribe if you appreciate this type of content, and I will do my best to make more of it in the year to come. Also, there is a link in the description that will lead to Patreon, Coffee, all sorts of ways that you can donate to the channel. If you would also like to help keep the bills paid, but you want a little something in return, you could also purchase one of my books. I do write fiction, so I would appreciate that. That'd be cool. They make excellent presents. Not necessarily Christmas presents. I'm not actually going to stop you from giving my books as Christmas presents, but given the conversation that we just had, maybe that's a happy June 12th present. Maybe that's a I'm glad you're still alive present for the middle of April. Spread joy, end hunger, and make the world a better place. Use your powers for good, because with great power comes great responsibility, and we all have a lot more power to influence those around us on social media than we may realize. Even if we don't think of ourselves as an influencer, we still influence the people around us. So maybe it's time to reimagine how you think of the holidays, and to let other people know that other things are possible. And with that being said, see you in the next one.